Hi, and welcome to another episode of Furuno Making Waves podcast. Today, we've got a pretty exciting thing. I'm Jeff Kozlarek.
I'm Eric Coons.
And today we've got Tim Moore, our general manager with Furuno USA in Denton, Maryland. And it's a pretty exciting thing. We've got the Furuno test boat.
Yeah, we're really happy about it. We have a brand new test boat that we've stationed on the East Coast at Tim's facility at our Denton, Maryland offices. And it's a beautiful boat. We've loaded it up with a lot of equipment that Tim's going to go over, and we're going to use it for developmental purposes. Also, it's great to get it out to boat shows and in the water shows.
But first, let's take a look at this episode's Furuno featured employee, Clayton Patterson, who's one of our field technicians. All right, everybody, with today's Furuno featured employee, we're going to talk with one of our field service technicians. His name is Clayton Patterson. Clayton, how are you doing today, bud?
How you doing, Jeff? Good to see you.
Good. So, Clayton, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been with Furuno?
So December of next year is 20 years for me.
20 years.
Yeah, 20 years.
Did you start here when you were 10?
Yeah, just about, yeah. You know, still a little green when I started. Yeah.
So have you been in this position for 20 years?
No. So when I started, I actually was hired in as a temp in the warehouse.
Really?
I think, yeah, I was like 19. It's like fresh out of high school.
Wow.
And started as a temp in the warehouse, and then got hired and worked in parts for 3 months or so until I got past my 90-day probation. And then I was called upstairs to HR, and I thought, oh, man, I'm getting fired. They're done. And they're like, oh, we want to move you to technical support. Wait, what?
Really?
Technical support? I don't know anything about this stuff. You can learn. You're smart. You have a mechanic's mind. Okay. So December 16th of 2005, I was moved into tech support.
So being brought into tech support, how did you learn the equipment? What was the process of that?
It's a lot different now than it was back then.
Okay.
So, now if we bring in somebody new, we'll do a lot of, like, I've helped with that in the past when I was tech support lead, and where training, you get a lot of, like, after hours, not really after hours, but later afternoon training. You take a step out for, an hour or two at the end of the day, and go through the history of NavNet and all the different products and wiring, and then you get them into emails and kind of work them into the situation. I think when I started, I got a stack of books on my desk.
Read the manual.
Yeah. I got 2 big stacks of manuals, which I still have, by the way. And I was told, read these and answer that phone and emails when they come in.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, something along the lines of that. But, you just kind of learn as you go. If you didn't know something, you hooked it up. We have all the equipment.
But you had all the other technicians and the leads that were helping you learn. So if you had questions, you could do that. And we have a lab that you could go into and be able to hook up the equipment.
Yeah.
So from
the support staff, the other technicians, there was a lot of help. A lot of help to learn. Yeah.
So from phone support, then where'd you go?
So I went into phone support, and I was that way for 18 years, and then was promoted 17 years, and then was promoted to the department lead.
Okay.
And was that way until this July, when I transferred into the field service technician.
And so as a field service technician, what is your role?
So the field service tech is, obviously I'm not on the phones anymore, but I'm going out in doing a lot of dealer training, a lot of installer training, a lot of, field service. Like if we have a brand ambassador or, a special Furuno project that we need the technician involved with, I will travel to that and go out and be involved in those repairs and those services.
So actually getting on the boats.
Yeah, getting out in the field and actually getting a chance to do stuff with my hands and work on the stuff, yeah.
Fantastic. All right, so I guess my last question for you is, that's everything that you're doing here. What do you do on your free time?
It's plastered all over the cubicle here. So Model Ts, early cars, that's...
Model T?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Several, actually.
Really?
I have several, yeah.
How many do you have?
4 Ts and a Model S and then a couple of miscellaneous.
And so do you restore them? Do you show them?
Yes, all of the above, really.
Really?
So yeah, I have a couple of cars that are restored that I've got pictures of in here. I've got a Roadster, and I've got a Depot Hack, which is basically a woody station wagon that was used to run passengers to and from train stations and hotels.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I have a 1-ton, big 1-ton flatbed truck, same chassis but longer and heavier, and then which are all restored and running, and then the Model S is a restoration project, 1908, so it's very early.
Wow.
And then a couple others that are also in progress.
Where'd you learn to work on old cars like that?
It's kind of like, it's a combination of being like ingrained from birth to, you have to be, kind of not really
mechanically inclined.
You do, yeah. There's kind of a little bit of that, but a lot of it from
I struggle with switching out a headlight, so I totally understand what you're saying.
But I mean, a lot of it was from like my grandfather, my dad, and my best friend's dad, who was kind of my mentor, especially on the early stuff and teeth.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll just ask. Actually, I lied. This is the last question.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, what is your favorite part about working for Furuno?
That's kind of a hard question to answer, and not because there's like not a good answer. There's so many different aspects as to why it's such a great place. Because I've been here for 20 years, or almost 20 years, and that's something that somebody my age really doesn't get a chance to say a lot, and that says a lot about the company and the structure and the the order and the employees and kind of the whole family aspect. It's the compensation is great, the job is fulfilling, you like everybody you work with, it's got good benefits as an employee, and it makes you want to stay. That's why when you start looking at these different interviews, that you'll find that most of us have been here for a minimum of 10 years.
Right.
There are some newer people now, but most of us are 10, 15, 20, 25, or 30-year people.
Right.
And there's a reason for that.
100%.
That's why I like it here.
Plus, we have popcorn day once a month, so that's all
There's
right.
nothing else. It's just, I'm sorry, I lied. There's nothing else. It's just popcorn day. That's it. Just popcorn.
All right. Thanks, Clayton.
Thank you very much, Tim.
All right. Take care.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tim, how you doing today?
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you?
Doing great. Doing great. So, let's start off. What size boat is it, and what kind of boat are we looking at here?
Okay, so what we opted for, Jeff, is a 28-foot Tidewater, and we specifically got the Blue Water Edition. And what makes that a little bit different, it's really the same hull, but what they do for the Blue Water Edition is they assume you're going to go offshore, you're going to go fishing. So we didn't need the standard family model that gives you 6 extra seats on the bow. So instead, the Blue Water Edition gets rid of those 6 extra family seats and puts a coffin box right in front of the center console.
And what engines did you put on this?
Now that's a funny story I think the guests are going to appreciate. So Tidewater boats come with either Mercury or Yamaha. So this particular boat came with 2 Yamaha 300s and a Helm Master 2 steering system. But being Furuno, we have a great relationship with Suzuki. So the minute we picked this boat up, we took it directly to a dealer to have the Yamahas removed. They actually were removed with only 20 minutes of time on them, just enough for the sea trial when we picked the boat up. And we removed the Yamaha Helm Master steering system. And what we did is we dropped on 2 Suzuki 300s along with a Dometic Optimus 360 electric steering system. And the reason we did that is we wanted the full use of Fish Hunter drive. And I'm sure we're going to talk about that in just a second.
Well, please tell me we got a little money for those engines we took off of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the good thing is when you do sell Yamahas, and actually all of them, they're also reliable now that you do. With 20 minutes of time on them, we almost got full price for them. So everything worked out. Well, believe it or not, when we sold them, we were able to pay for the 2 Suzuki 300s, and because Yamaha's value is a little bit higher, right? They do cost more. We were able to pay for the Dometic 360 steering system as well.
Hey, excellent. Yeah.
All right, so let's start with what do you have on there? What's the
What's the helm look like? What's the equipment list? I'm sure everybody's eager to know. Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm looking at first, I mean, we got a lot of stuff to cover, right? Because like Eric mentioned in the opening, we loaded this boat up with a lot of electronics. But let's start with just what I'm looking at. So what we opted to do was drop in two of Furuno's newest TZtouchXLs right in the dash. So that's our two primary displays. And because it's a 28-foot boat, the size we had was enough to fit two 16-inch XL displays. So that's my main primary source of navigation. It connects me to the radar, the AIS, the antennas, just every piece of ancillary equipment, all my black box fish finders. And so we got a lot going on there. But then just looking below that, the boat came with a JL Audio stereo system, which is great. Love JL Audio. They make great stereo systems. And we were able to go one step further. JL Audio makes an HTML5 box, right, Eric? So what that allows us to do is by dropping in the HTML5 server, it allows the JL Audio system to connect to Furuno's command center, which is allowing you to have command over all these HTML5 devices on the boat straight from your XL screens.
Yeah, it's basically a browser window, and you open it up, and boom, we can connect to any of these new equipment that has HTML output, and boom, you can bring up the whole audio controls for the JL system. It's really nice, and it works with a lot of different. We're improving and even increasing the number of partners that we're sharing the HTML video, HTML.
We have like over 30.
Yeah, we have 30 so far, and it's growing. So it's actually really nice.
And that's called NavNet Command Center, and yes, that actually works within the TZtouchXL display.
Yeah, it's native to TZtouchXL, so there's nothing to do. Even if we don't have a partner right now, we get one in the future. It's really easy to just throw in a small, like a picture file, and introduce the capability for new partners as well.
And just for those that have TZtouch 3, you do have NavNet Command Center with that as well, right?
Yes. There's not as many partners that are compatible with TZtouch 3 as there will be with XL, but it's still possible. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as I look across the dash, right beside my JL Audio stereo is a what we call the Dometic CAN track controller, and that's just a little display for your steering system that comes with the Optimus 360 steering system. Beside that, I have a NavPilot 300, which has that Fish Hunter drive connected to those Suzuki motors. Beside that, I have an FI70 because we have an SCX20. We got a lot of data on this boat, and if you've never seen one, the FI70 being a little 4.3-inch color display offers pretty much access to all that NMEA 2000 data right on screen. You can totally user programmable, set the screens the way you want them. Like right now, I'm looking at the SCX20 pitch and roll because we were just out on the boat last night. We had about 8 people on board, so SCX20, believe it or not, is a quick way to look at how to set your trim tabs. Because as I sit here right now, I'm sitting on the boat trailer, but I'm sitting in the parking lot, so I can see I'm at 0 degrees port and starboard, so I'm perfectly level port and starboard, but I'm sitting on a 4-degree down angle because our parking lot sloped as it enters the building. And then beside that, even more of the dash, we have a
real quick, Tim. Hold on. Sure. So the FI70s, you're saying like it's an instrument data display.
It's like an NMEA 2000 data repeater, basically, yeah. But it's customizable. You can lock it to just depth or just temperature, depending on how you want to do it. Or you can set it up to just hit the display button, and just go pop through different displays that you customize that you'll use on a daily basis if you're fishing or just for navigation purposes or just for general, even like for sitting at anchor, you could look at all the data that comes across on your NMEA 2000.
So we have one of those on Furuno 1, but how many of those could you actually have? You could have multiple of those?
Yeah, it's kind of unlimited. Yeah, so you could have them in different places. You can link the lighting and the dimming together with different groups of FI70s. So it's pretty versatile, and I've seen vessels with 10, 12 of these things on them. Yeah,
and it's not vessel specific. I mean, it could be on a boat like what Tim's sitting on. It could be on a sailboat. It could be on a workboat. Yes. It could be.
Yeah. It's got all kinds of wind capabilities, right? So for sailboats or for ground wind, it'll show you the wind direction relative to north or relative to the bow, depending on how you want to set it up, as well as all kinds of temperature information and and other information too. It's a pretty versatile display unit that can be mounted anywhere on the boat, anywhere there's an NMEA 2000 node. Boom, you can put it there and seal it.
Excellent. Okay. All right, Tim. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're good, Jeff. And you bring up a great point, right? So even for a boat this size, I know you noticed, or you said we only had one, but since you saw the boat last time, we've added a second one, and it's right up here above my head. Now, it's not for me as the boat operator to see, it's for the people in the back. Because once again, like Eric said, these displays are nav data repeaters. So this FI-70 here in the back, or being rear facing, is for anyone standing in the back of the boat who's fishing or just sitting there, if we're getting to the fishing grounds or just cruising around, they can set this display to be whatever they want to see. Because remember, I can't see it standing here at the helm. It's all for them. So they can just reach up and tap any one of these buttons and go to any one of these 7 user programmable screens the FI-70 offers.
Oh, that's a great idea.
It's great for people in the cockpit who are fishing to track bottom. So you can look up at the bottom number on the FI-70 display, and then match your real dial to that depth, and know where your bait is relative to the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Super important.
And then sticking with the dash, to the right of the FI-70 in the dash, we have a Suzuki SMD7. And what that is it's a Suzuki labeled Furuno display. It's essentially the equivalent of a GP 1871F, 1971F. And the reason we're using that on here is that's where we're running our 2 engine displays on. So normally the TZtouchXL is perfectly capable of showing your engine displays, but because we have so much equipment on the boat, from the radar to the multiple cameras to the multiple fish finders, we're using our 2 16-inch displays for that. And we're just keeping a dedicated display for our engine equipment so we can see it at all times.
Gotcha. Okay. That's excellent.
Yeah.
So now, we're going to just move through different areas, guys. So I'm going to head up to the top electronics box. And what we have in there is a 2 FM 4850 black box VHFs. We have, let's see, just looking up there, that's where I had the FA-70 AIS transceiver. That's our Class B AIS transceiver. We went with a Furuno DRS25ANXT solid-state Doppler radar for this boat. So anytime you're running the 12ANXT or the 25ANXT, they require 24 volts. But Furuno also has that covered, because we make a little Newmark converter that bumps your boat voltage, because most small boats have 12 volts, right, Eric? So we're just bumping that right up to 24 volts. That way we have a direct feed to the radar. Nice small package, doesn't take up much room, and I was able to jam it up there in that top electronics box, because we really did have to use every piece of square inch of real estate we had on this boat for electronics. And then, just for some cool stuff, for a backup to our backup to our backup, we have a GP39, because believe it or not, we do sell a lot of GP39s as a standalone GPS receiver, just as a backup. It's small, inexpensive, works great. Yeah. And, it could just, it's just great as a backup or a primary.
They're popular all around the world.
They are popular all around the world. Yeah. And, so that's pretty much the top electronics box. I have some other things hidden up there. Go ahead, Jeff.
Hold on, real quick, Tim. So I just want to back up. You mentioned the FA-40, right? Is on
70.
FA-70. Okay, so just so everybody knows what that is, so AIS is the automatic identification system,
right?
And so what that allows you to do is to be able to, for other boats that also have AIS systems on their vessels, it gives the boat information, their speed, their course, all that kind of information, right?
So just to dive in a little deeper, the FM 4850s, the VHF radios, have built-in AIS receivers. So you'll hear or you'll be able to see other vessels that have an AIS transponder on them. And then you can do that and use that alone, or you can add the FA-70, as Tim has done on Furuno 1, and that is like a Here I Am box. So not only will you be able to see everybody with that box around you, but you'll transmit your Here I Am data as well. So it's like a black box kind of on an airplane saying, here I am, here I am, here I am, letting everybody know around you that you're a vessel that's transmitting and transiting different areas. So it's just kind of a way to increase situational awareness in just about any navigation situation. And there's a silent mode, so if you're out fishing, you don't want to give anybody your position, you can flip an easy switch and just go right to silent. So it's really nice like that too. So you're not always transmitting, because AIS on this type of vessel and on most smaller vessels is an optional requirement. You don't have to have it turned on and transmitting all the time.
So let me ask you a leading question here.
Sure.
So Tim has a radar on the boat, so there's no need to have AIS, because the radar will see all the boats around them, right?
True. Yeah, the radar's going to see all the boats around you, but the AIS is nice because, there's a buddy list in our Excel system, so you can show buddies, you can show data, you can show information from the AIS that you're not going to get right away from the radar, like the vessel name, for example. You're not going to see the vessel name on your radar system, even though The NXT radar is amazing. It'll show you how fast the vessel's going, how fast you can track vessels at every sweep, the Doppler functionality of the NXT radar. Plus, that's a 200-watt, full 200-watt radar, which is roughly equivalent to a 25-kilowatt traditional magnetron radar. So performance is just excellent on the NXT radars, and I'd match it up to anybody's system on the market at any power level that they want to talk about. We're still better than all our competitors.
So I have to say I'm a little disappointed though in your answer, Eric.
Why is that?
Well, and maybe it's just because I'm the marketing guy and I know like little nuanced things, but isn't the whole idea of AIS is that it's not line of sight, where radar is
absolutely true, right? Absolutely true. Line of sight, yeah.
So with the radar, if you have land blocking you or something,
right,
you're not going to be able to see a boat that might be on the other side of a peninsula, where AIS will be able to go over that and be able to, you'll still see it.
That's absolutely true. Important on the rivers like the Mississippi, you could be, coming around a bend and not see a tug and tow on the radar system because it's hidden by land, yet the AIS will still tell you that information, that you got something coming at you, and to be prepared for it. So it's really important like that, sure. Yeah.
I was just going to say, look at the marketing guy knew a little something.
Absolutely, yeah.
So to go a little bit further on your point, Jeff, and the reason we chose to put an AIS actual transceiver on this boat and not just a receiver is, as Eric brought up, and you kind of, you mentioned too, the thing about the AIS targets, when they show up on your plotter screen or your radar screen, you're capable of tapping on that icon. And with an AIS transceiver, you can say, hey, this is me. This is the name of my boat. This is the size of my boat. And you can even tell people where you're going if they want to get more information. So AIS does provide a lot of great information, but there's one step even further. Say you're going out for the day and, you're fishing around Mississippi River, wherever you might be going. One of the most important things you can do going out on a boat is following a float plan, right? You don't ever want to go out on your boat without somebody knowing where you're going. But if you have an AIS transceiver and you're within a relative, close distance of land, you can go to marinetraffic.com. It's a free service, and you can see any AIS transmitting vessel moving within the United States.
That's a good point.
Yeah. You could be in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay, for example, where Tim is, and your wife and kids could be tracking you, for example, and know exactly where you are roughly. So it's actually really nice in that way. And they just the marine traffic network of AIS receivers are mounted literally all over Earth, just about. So as long as you're within distance and you can pick, and they can pick you up, anybody can track you. It's really pretty nice.
So the wife will know when you're coming home with dinner.
Exactly.
At least you get silent mode, Eric was mentioning earlier.
Let's hit the silent mode. Yeah. If you're getting skunked, you might want to hit the silent mode. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
All right, Tim, keep going.
All right, so that's the top electronics box. Let's see. So heading to the actual top of the boat, man, do we have a lot going on. So I'm going to step out of the picture. Only because I don't want to miss anything, because we have so much stuff up here. And I'm sure Jeff and Mitchell will drop in a picture. But starting from the front, so one of the things you're going to see coming out soon is Furuno is coming out with an FIP 460 camera. And, being the ridiculous boat that we are, we have 3 cameras facing forward. That's for another story I can't tell you about yet. So we got that on the front. Sitting beside that, we have a FLIR M232, which is completely controllable from the touchscreen on your TZtouchXL. Same thing.
Does it matter which size TZtouchXL you have?
No, not at all.
No. I'm here to work with any
control.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then sitting behind that,
20.
Yep, is our big boy DRS25ANXT solid state Doppler radar. Off each port and starboard side, I have matching antennas. So I have 4-foot VHF antennas, one going to the port VHF, one going to the starboard VHF. And a lot of that is just for symmetry, right? I'm not too worried about any single Furuno VHF breaking. It's more for symmetry for us, because we take the boat to a lot of shows. We wanted everything to look absolutely top notch. And mounted about 24 inches behind that radar is probably one of my favorite things on the boat, the SCX20, our satellite compass, which is a nice small package. Looking at it, I don't even think it's 12 inches long. It's probably about 10 or 11 inches long, 10 or 11 inches wide. And it's got 4 GPS antennas in it. I'm sure Eric might want to talk a little bit about that, because it is such a great heading sensor.
Yeah, the SCX20 really is our 4th generation satellite compass, which we came out with in 2000 with the first one. And we've learned a lot. One of the Achilles heels of satellite compasses is a 2 antenna design is susceptible to multipath, the interference. So anything mounted above the satellite compass can cause multipath and cause the system to kind of screw up. And we've been able to completely solve that problem with this new 4-antenna design, which doesn't just have a single baseline for calculations, it's got 6 baselines. So it can calculate between any 2 antennas in that 4-antenna design, including diagonally, and it basically completely eliminates that multipath problem. So that was one of the Achilles heels. The SCX20 was a revolutionary design that is inexpensive, yet it completely eliminates that problem, and it works on basically any boat, just about anywhere. So it's a fantastic product for us, award-winning, and we've sold a ton of them. We have trouble keeping them in stock.
Yeah, well, and I've read on our forum, and again, if you guys don't know the forum, the Furuno forum, that's a great place to go if you have any questions. So it's just furunoforum.com. But I've seen on the forum people talking about the SCX20, and I know it can do a lot of things for like the fish finder, and where it compensates for pitch and heave and all that kind of stuff. But also, not that I want you guys to be buying other equipment, but I've also heard that people with other manufacturers, MFDs, they've been putting the SCX20s on there because it like performs so well,
so much better.
That it just is.
All of our competitors have 2 antenna designs. We're the only one with a with a 4 GPS antenna design, which solves that problem. So they literally all can run into this multipath issue, and that's why the SCX20 is so popular on our competitors' products boats. So it's pretty funny.
And it also feeds into the autopilot, right, Tim? So that actually makes the autopilot run better.
Yeah, so what I wanted to also add, Jeff, is the simplicity of installation. Number one, we already talked about it's a very small package. It simply drops into your NMEA 2000 network. That is its connection. It's that easy.
Yeah. It draws almost no power. 2 watts, I think 4 len, less than 200 milliamps, so like about 2 watts of power, which is almost nothing. You could run this thing on like all day on a couple AAA batteries, basically. That's how little power it draws. And it's pretty amazing. It doesn't just have heading information coming out, but it's also a multi-redundant GPS antenna. So it's got 4 separate GPS receivers in it that perform this heading calculation. But in addition to that, as you said, it's also got inertial sensors in it for pitch, roll, yaw, and it even has a air temperature sensor and a barometric pressure sensor in it as well. So it's got all this data that's just blasting out to anything that needs it on the NMEA 2000.
So and it can feed all that like air pressure data and everything to like your FI70.
FI70, exactly. Or FI70 or your displays, your TZtouchXL.
The XL has all the instrument displays in there too, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and it's funny, Eric, you threw in that temperature and barometric pressure, because sitting behind the SCX20 is Furuno's 200WX ultrasonic weather sensor, which also gives us that information. So we got a lot of good information coming from there. But also, what the 200X also adds is all those wind speeds, right? So we can show wind speed in so many different directions. It's just, man, so much information. But so much good, highly precise information. And then, looking beside that, so I was just counting while Eric was talking. I think all total, we have 6 GPS receivers on the boat, because he was talking about the SCX20 and how it received GPS. So what we know is both of our XLs have, because we have 16-inch units, there's no internal GPS in the 22 or 24, but there is in the 10, 13, and 16. So we have 2 GPS receivers there. We have the FA70 AIS, which has its own GPS, and there's an antenna for that up here on the top. Sitting beside that is the antenna for the GP39, so we have an independent GPS receiver there. The 200WX ultrasonic weather sensor has GPS built in, so we have a lot of GPS redundancy on this boat. And then finally, at least on the top, sitting beside that is our little mushroom antenna, and that is specifically for Furuno's BBWX4 SiriusXM Weather Receiver that also does, radio and fish mapping as well. So a lot of great stuff in a small package. And the one thing Eric and Jeff have not seen yet, and I know this because we only put it on last night, is now sitting at the very back of the boat in a rod holder is our brand new Starlink Mini, so we can take everybody with us.
Oh, wow.
There we go.
Nice.
Cool. Nice. Yeah, that Starlink is a pretty amazing system. It's revolutionizing the whole marine industry. It's
and the crazy
it's opening up a lot of things. Yeah.
The mini antenna is so small, it does not look out of place. It blends in even on a 28-foot boat. It is truly amazing.
And built-in Wi-Fi, so you really don't have to. You don't need a router or anything. You just basically plug and play, and it's all DC driven.
That's exactly right.
Super efficient.
Yep, DC
yeah, exactly.
So do you have the TZtouchXLs? Are they linked to that so that you have internet connection, so you could download like the charts if you want, or unlock the charts, or get weather updates? And
all the above, basically.
If we wanted to do so, we do have the BBWX4, but remember, TZT2, TZT3, TZtouchXL, they all have built-in free Navcast or NavCenter weather, right? But you have to download that.
Right.
So we could download that anytime that we want, right through this Starlink. It's just so we were out last night, guys, and it was the first time we were testing it. So the first thing we did was went the wrong direction, and even going the wrong direction with the Starlink mini antenna, which is very small, we were still getting about 40 meg download speed. And when we were going the correct direction, we were getting 180 meg download speeds.
Wow.
And that was it. That was at 35 knots. Yeah, that was at 35 knots.
35 knots, yeah.
Jeez.
Just unheard of on small boats like that. You know, these bigger systems with these giant dome antennas can't even touch that. Can't touch it.
No.
Can't touch it. And let alone trying to mount that on a small boat, forget it. There's no room. You just can't do it. So it's really a revolutionary. Starlink is a revolutionary system for any marine application.
And literally, Eric, and I'm not trying to push Starlink too hard, but because the antenna's small and it's DC driven, we had it installed on this boat in, I'd say, less than an hour. It's probably closer to 35 minutes.
Yeah, amazing. So just how simple it is.
So the $100 million question here, Tim, is how long did it take you to install this equipment?
I'm not sure I could come up with a number, Jeff, because the installation was difficult. I'm not going to lie. A lot of cussing, a lot of aggravation, and that's anybody. Of course, Furuno, me and Eric, we install stuff all the time. We get it, but one of the things we do in our videos is we don't cover the reality of installations on a boat. Trust me when I say we don't miss the difficulties installing things that you guys miss. We just don't always show it. But, one of the things Jeff and I is working on right now is we did record video of everything we installed on this boat, a couple of months back. And one of the things we're going to do as a winter project is start putting that video series together so you can see the difficulties, even we as the professional base, putting all this equipment on such a small boat. It can be tough, and we definitely get that.
Yeah, just figuring out placement of the different equipment. Once an OEM manufacturer has a production line and you're using the same equipment over again, it's much, much easier. But just the initial placement, figuring out where things go, the wiring runs, getting all that down the very first time is a challenge.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And we'll show a picture of behind the console there, so you can see what Tim's talking about. So I know you were crawling around in there, and it was tight quarters for you for sure to be able to do that. And you're a pretty slim guy there, Mister.
That's right.
That's
right. I think for
Slim Shady,
Jeff, you really had to be. But also, just so the viewers know, outside of the JL audio system, we bought this boat with nothing on it. It had nothing on it except for the JL audio system. Yeah. So we had to run, every single wire was run by us. And as Eric said, it was really the initial layout. Obviously, if I had to do it again, I would do it probably twice as fast. It was just the learning curve of learning a new boat, a boat we've never had before, and the fact that every hole had to be cut for everything on here. So it took a little bit of extra time. And also being a demo boat for us, obviously we're going to show a lot of people. The wiring also had to be neat. So, that meant you wanted to cut all your power cables to the exact length they had to be and give them the perfect turns. You had to get every NMEA 2000 cable you want. Sometimes you'd put down a 2-meter cable and it would come up 6 inches short because that's just the way things work. So then you kind of had to fish down a 3-meter cable because you want everything to look pretty. But then you had to hide that extra, 18 inches of wire you had. So, it's a give-take situation anytime you're installing stuff on a boat, for sure.
Sure. I know. Well, okay, so I have one final question for you, Tim.
Okay.
If you had to pick one piece of equipment, what's your favorite piece of equipment on that boat?
Okay, so for me, I am a radar purist. I love the charts. I love the chart plotter. But you know what? It doesn't matter what situation you're ever in. If you can look at a radar picture, and when I say that, I mean a radar picture as good as Furuno. I personally wouldn't say radar would be my first choice if it was anybody else, but I'm Furuno. I know our radars, and I know how good they are. If I have a radar screen running in front of me, I absolutely know with 100% confidence I can keep myself safe.
Yeah. you could lose everything else, and you have your radar, which is a completely independent system, and you're not gonna run anything. People say, I've heard people go, well, now that AIS is available, I don't need a radar, and that's a hooey to me. That's a total BS because a lot of boats don't have an AIS transponder on them, nor do deadheads in the water, nor do any obstruction that you want to get around that you do not want to run into. You know what I mean? Right. So there could be all kinds of a multitude of things floating on the water that you don't want to hit that your AIS isn't going to show you. Including other boats, for example, including like a lot of people run silent mode and don't say anything. So absolutely, radar is still a huge, and I would argue, as Tim does, it's paramount. It's super important to have a radar on your vessel for general purpose navigation anytime you're going on the water, anytime you're going offshore especially. Yeah.
And also, Eric, I want to add one more thing about the radar, and I'm sure you will back me up 100% on this, because this is a question we run into at shows and stuff all the time, or we just hear the comment. If you have a radar, please use the radar. Don't wait until you need it to learn how to use it. Yeah. You cannot wear these radars out. A regular, person who's just using their boat on a regular basis, you are never going to wear this radar out. Let this radar run while you're out during the day. Get familiar with it. Understand what the pictures it's showing you. That way, when there is a time you need it, because you ran into a fog bank that you didn't know was coming, you have a complete understanding of what you're seeing in front of you.
Including for your, anybody else operating the vessel as well. Make sure that you turn it on and you say, hey, this is a top-down view. Look at it, understand it. And like Tim said, you can't wear these radars out. Even the commercial guys can't wear these out because there's no consumable parts anymore in the NXT radar. The mean time between failure rate for the transmitter is like 300,000 hours, some crazy number, and you're just not going to wear it out. So, and it doesn't draw much power, and it's safe. It's safe. So there's really no issues with running your radar all the time. Yeah, it's just something that's a prudent thing to do, and it's actually, if you have a navigation device on your vessel, per the Coast Guard, you are obligated to actually turn it on and use it. Yeah.
That's right. Well, thanks, Tim. We appreciate the time and going through the equipment. I'm excited to see all the different things that you're going to be testing out and the videos that you can produce on there. We've got a lot of information that we want to get to the viewers, so appreciate you taking that time.
Looking forward to a lot of good videos.
And also, I want to add one more thing to the radar. So if you guys see somebody pull up at the marina, and it's kind of funny, we'll pull up for lunch or something, and there's always invariably this one person who gets very upset because somebody's pulling in with the radar still on. As Eric mentioned, current day radars are not dangerous. If you carry a cell phone, it is far more dangerous to you if you put it up beside your head than a radar ever will be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. People don't understand. They go, microwave energy. Well, yeah, your cell phone is also microwave energy, and it happens to dissipate with the square of the distance. So when you put your cell phone next to your head, you're getting a lot bigger dose of that dangerous radiation than the radar will ever give you. Yeah.
So definitely cut the radar guys some slack when they pull in. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching today. If you have any comments, questions, make sure you put it in the comment section down below. Make sure you like the video, and if you're enjoying the Furuno Making Waves podcast, make sure you subscribe so that you get noticed the next time we're doing one. So we appreciate your time, Tim, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you some other time on the podcast here.
Definitely looking forward to it, guys. Thanks for having me.